It's time. Maggie. I have a quorum.
Are we gonna go through that thing again where I don't know if I get to vote if I'm here? Are we gonna do
Yes.
that one again?
I'm going to do that right in front. Good morning. This is the Regional Council meeting for Thursday, July 6, 2023. Today, I already said that. I would like to ask members calling by phone to identify themselves prior to calling the meeting to order. The meeting, do we have anybody calling by phone? Nope. Okay, the meeting's called order. I'd like to ask, I'll lead the pledge myself today.
Wow.
Oh,
Okay.
if I can get up, excuse me. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Before we get started, I want to read something that we kind of got messed up in the TC meeting.
Not home, I'm using that.
When entertaining motions or, excuse me, just a reminder, if a member of this body is attending
Yes,
remotely,
All right.
but is not at the location on the agenda, they may observe but may not participate in any discussion or voting of this body. That means if you're virtually here and not at the location posted on the agenda, you can't discuss anything or vote. And please keep your cameras on during the meeting. Ruben, did I miss anything?
Good afternoon, Mr. President. Thank you. Just a very quick note for housekeeping. I understand that there may have been some members of the regional council intending to come today in person, and there was a potential labor union issue or labor strike issue. So some folks opted not to come in person. Completely fine. Again, as President Brown said, if you are participating from a location that is not noticed on the agenda, you may not participate during the debate or vote. But if you've gone to another location that's posted on the agenda with another RC member, that would be acceptable. Mr. President, at this time, if we could just make that inquiry. So if you are participating remotely at a noticed location, but we don't know that you're there, if you would just put on the record now where you are so that the clerk can so note for our minutes and members of the public can know exactly where everybody is, I would very much appreciate that.
Hi, this is Ashley Aiken, Anaheim Mayor with Vice Mayor Tammy Kim. We are at the posted location at Irvine City Hall.
Thank you, noted.
Thank you, Mayor Akins. Anyone else?
Yes, this is Joe Kalmick, and I'm at the Seal Beach City Hall, and that the agenda has been posted.
Noted, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman.
Hi, this is Brian Goodell. I'm at Mission Viejo City Hall, which was posted.
Thank you, noted.
Hi, this is Liz Becerra, City of Victorville City Hall posted.
Thank you.
Dennison as shown on the agenda.
Sorry.
You want to turn it on or no?
Thank you, sir.
Ken Mann at City of Lancaster and is publicly noticed.
Thank you.
In City of Huntington Beach, publicly noticed.
Thank you.
Lauren Kleiman, City of Newport Beach, publicly noticed.
Thank you.
Hi, it's Alan Wapner. Kurt Hagman's with me in Ontario.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we're good. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, everybody. Okay, we're holding this meeting in compliance with the Brown Act rules related to telephonic and video conferencing meetings. SCAG offices are open to members of the public to attend and participate in person. Instructions providing public comment have been provided in advance and are also included in the agenda package. And just a reminder to reduce background noise, please ensure that your microphone is muted when not in use. Now is the time for public comments. I'm sorry. Have we received any public comments prior to the meeting?
We have received no comments, Mr.
No
President.
comments, thank you. Okay, are there any members of the public wishing to speak at this time?
Mr. President, we have not received any public comment speaker cards.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any members of the public who wish to speak? Nope. Okay, I will now close the public comment period for members not listed on the agenda. Now it's time to review and prioritize agenda items. Do we have anybody that wishes to do that? Seeing none, we'll go to action items. We're going to take the information on both items 1 and 2 first and vote on them both at the same time. So after item 1, don't make a motion until we hear item 2. Item 1 is Connect SoCal 2024 Policy Framework. Do we have any members of the public who wish to speak on this item?
Mr. President, there are no members of the public, and there are also no raised hands.
Thank you. I'll call on Sarah Jepson, Chief Planning Officer, to provide the presentation.
Good afternoon, President Brown and members of the Regional Council. I'm here today to present an update on Connect SoCal and ask for your support of the adoption of our policy framework. As I hope you all are aware, this fall, SCAG will release a draft of Connect SoCal 2024, our updated long-range regional transportation plan and sustainable community strategy, or the RTP-SCS. And this covers our whole Southern California region. This plan represents an update of the Connect SoCal 2020 and reflects a continuous and ongoing process to research, collect data, and develop projects and programs to support the region. Last year, the EAC and the Regional Council adopted a policy framework to provide direction to our staff team on the development of the plan, including the major issues that you wanted us to bring forward to you for consideration at each of the policy committees, as well as outline 3 special subcommittees that met for a limited time and culminated in some white papers and a set of recommendations that were presented at the Joint Policy Committee meeting in March of this year. The item before you today summarizes and confirms the policy framework for the Connect SoCal 2024 ahead of the release of our draft plan this fall. The major elements of this policy framework include the vision and goals, a definition for priority equity communities to meet our federal requirements, and a set of draft regional planning policies. All of these items have gone through the policy committees and have been informed by our outreach process. We request that the Regional Council adopt the policy framework, and with your approval of this policy direction, we will incorporate the policies into the draft plan that we will release this fall for further public comment. I want to thank the many of you who have been involved in our policy conversations over the last year, and especially the chairs and vice chairs of our special committees and the committees are each of our 3 policy committees, as I know we've had to work closely to figure out how to bring forward all these topics to your committees in a very timely manner. So thanks for your support on the policy conversations and the directions to date, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions or comments from members of the RC that are present? Questions or comments? Anybody? Anybody that's here virtual?
There are none.
Don't see any. No? Okay.
If I may.
Yes, you may.
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to mention, I know that as we went through the last process with Connect SoCal, there was a lot of input or an expression of need for more input. And I think that when we look at this document, I genuinely believe we see more input reflected. There were a few things in here that were so important to me that we integrate into this framework, and we see them there. And I believe it's one of those times we spoke up and we worked with the team at SCAG and the entire council here, and we found ways to integrate those thoughts and make this a very valid document that will help us as we go forward. And it wouldn't have happened unless people read their packets and studied them and participated in discussion and listened to their community. And I see this reflected in this document. And I want to say thank you. I know each time will improve, but I see great improvement as far as the input that we all provided because we provided it. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Do we have anybody virtually or at one of the locations?
No raised hands.
Okay. And we'll go on to item 2, REAP 2.0 CTC Partnership Program Award List. Do you have any members of the public who wish to speak on this item?
Mr. President, we have not received any public comment speaker cards and nor are they any raised hands.
Okay, I'll call on Darren Chidsey to provide a brief introduction. He will then call on Nolan Borgman, Planning Supervisor, to present.
Well, good afternoon. Good to see you all. Darren Chidsey, Chief Operating Officer. Kome will be here shortly. He was down at a press conference at the Port of Long Beach this morning on an exciting a group of announcements that he'll share with us when he gets back. But before I introduce Nolan, I just want to talk a little bit about the REAP 2.0 CTC Partnership Program. We learned just today, so this is breaking news, that our application for the full REAP program has been approved. And so a round of applause to all of you. And you might ask, how did we just get the program approved? And here we are actually selecting projects. And I think this is an opportunity to recognize your leadership and the EAC's direction to staff over a year ago to apply for some early planning resources, to staff up, bring the right team on board, develop programs so that as soon as we had these approvals, we could get the money out into the region. Many times these programs obviously are very complicated to develop. And so the forward-thinking nature of this organization to front load a lot of that work so that we could ensure that projects are getting funded as soon as they're eligible to, I think has really separated us in the state. And so congratulations to you all for getting us here. But before you today is one piece of those REAP 2.0 funds. And you might remember it's about $247 million that's split into a variety of different pots to tackle different critical issue areas. This particular program, as Nolan's going to talk about, is focused on transportation investments. It's really split into kind of 3 different categories. Looking not just at some ridership issues, but certainly looking at different modes of transportation, as well as how do we really think about our transportation and communities and have investments around that to bolster some of our local neighborhoods. So it's an exciting group of 33 transformative planning and implementation projects that we are very excited to talk about today and look forward to Nolan's presentation. So thank you.
Thank you, Darren. And thank you, Chair, and thank you for being here, everyone. I'm excited to give you a quick update on the CTC Partnership Program. So as Darren sort of mentioned, the action today to approve our recommended project list and contingency list continues on a path that we set on when Regional Council approved the REAP 2.0 Program Development Framework in July of 2022 and the CTC Partnership Program Guidelines in October of 2022. In addition to extensive REAP 2.0 outreach, SCAG also convened a CTC working group, as well as met individually with the CTCs. And a personal highlight and a highlight for the rest of our team was our visits to each county during this process. So the formal staff recommendation is to 1, approve the REAP 2.0 CTC Partnership Program Project Award List and Contingency List, and 2, to authorize the SCAG Executive Director or his designee to enter into agreements with the designated CTCs under this program and execute all documents incident to the agreements. Just for 1 minute on process, our call opened on April 12th and closed on May 9th. We received 37 excellent proposals that totaled just under 116 million. So we'd like to convey again appreciation to the CTCs for their partnership. We had 10 total reviewers. Our scoring system was out of 50 points and was designed with input from the state to limit subjectivity, so the scores tended to be consistent. Our selection didn't just waste scores, but also eligibility, the ranking that prioritization that CTCs provided, a funding target for each CTC based on county population, and then also a target that 70% of the funds go to implementation projects, which was also from the REAP guidelines. In total, SCAG is recommending to fully fund 27 projects and partially fund 6. The majority of partially and unfunded proposals are on a contingency list, And so contingency projects will be awarded as funding comes available if it needs to be reallocated, starting with the partially funded projects within that county, then moving into the eligible unfunded projects, and then moving into other counties to make sure that we get this money spent. That's my presentation. I really appreciate your time. I'll now take any questions.
Any questions, members of the RC and president? Do I have any questions or comments from members of the RC president? None? With
Looks like that.
Are we going to move to approve this, Mr. President?
Oh, just a second.
No questions in the room?
No questions in the room? Okay, we'll be moving this on item 1 and 2. So item 1 was the next SoCal 2024 policy framework. And this is the REAP 2.0 CT partnership program award list and contingency list. And authorize the SCAG executive director is designated to enter into an agreement with the designated county transportation commissions under this program and execute all documents incident to the agreement. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. President? Okay. Mr. President?
Yes.
If it's possible, I would like to move these two items along with the consent calendar. Is the consent calendar included?
So the consent calendar was not included in the motion the president called for. Certainly, you can offer that as an alternative motion. Mr. Chizzy and I were having a sidebar here. We may want to actually give Mr. Ajise a little bit of time to arrive because he wanted to make his announcement. Because once we get through the consent calendar, we're pretty much done. So notwithstanding my desire to only have one roll call vote, I agree with you. Mr. Lorimore, we probably do want to just spread out a little bit of time. If I could beg your indulgence.
So Mr. Lorimore, was that a second on the original motion?
Yes, yes, sir. Councilman Alexander.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Mr. President, I just want to confirm that the motion is for item number 1 and 2 made
Yes.
by Clint Lorimore, seconded by Damon Alexander. I'll not proceed with the
Just for
roll call.
clarification, I think
reverse.
Mr. Alexander was first and.
Oh, was he first?
Yes.
Thank you so much for correcting me on that. I will make the notation on that. Ashley Aiken,
Yes.
Damon Alexander,
Aye.
Cindy Allen. Cindy Allen. Valeria thank you. Valeria Mesqua. Constantine Anthony. Catherine Barker.
Aye.
Elizabeth Becerra.
Aye.
Gary Boyer.
Yes.
Art Brown.
Aye.
Wendy Bucknam.
Yes.
Margaret Clark.
Yes.
Jenny Crosswhite.
Yes.
Rick Dennison.
Dennison, yes.
John Dumitru.
Yes.
Keith Ike. Margaret Finley. John Gabbard.
Yes.
James Gaisley.
Gaisley, aye.
Brian Goodell. Brian Goodell. Marshall Goodman. Kurt Hagman.
Hagman, aye.
Jan Harnick.
Yes.
Laura Hernandez.
Yes.
Mike Judge.
Yes.
Joe Kalmick.
Yes.
Trish Kelly.
Yes.
Kathleen Kelly.
Yes.
Tammy Kim.
Tammy Kim, yes.
Lauren Kleiman.
Yes.
Linda Krupa.
Yes.
Patricia Locke Dawson.
Aye.
Vianney Lopez.
Yes.
Clint Lorimore.
Aye.
Ken Mann.
Yes.
Steve Manos. Ray Marquez.
Yes.
Andrew Maciel. Casey McKeon.
No.
Lauren Meister,
Yes.
Dennis Michael,
Yes.
Marisela Nava, Maria Nava Frolic, Maria Nava Frolic, Frank
Yes.
Navarro, thank you. Frank Navarro, Oscar Ortiz,
Yes.
Luis Blancarte,
Blancarte, yes.
Gil Rebollar,
Yes. Yes.
Rocky Rhodes,
Yes.
Deborah Robertson,
Yes.
Celeste Rodriguez,
Yes.
Ali Saleh,
Yes.
Tim Sandoval,
Do you need me to stall the vote? Yes.
thank you. Andrew Sorega, Suli Saro, Zach Schwank,
Yes.
Jose Luis Solache,
Yes.
Karen Spiegel, Steve Ty, Donald Wagner,
Aye.
Alan Wapner,
Yes.
Frank Yokoyama.
Yes.
Mr. President, the motions for item 1 and 2 passes with 49 votes yes, 1 vote no, and 0 abstentions.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Goodell votes aye as well. Sorry.
And Margaret Finley votes yes.
Noted, thank you.
You got Goodell?
51 votes yes.
Goodell aye.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Comey's trying to sign in from Long Beach, so we'll give him a second to see if he can get in. Otherwise, well, somebody else read his material.
This is Cindy, and Comey is walking in right now, so just give us a couple seconds.
Thank you.
We're on the consent calendar.
Oh, consent calendar?
There's Comey, right?
Yeah, we can introduce the consent calendar.
Yeah. Oh, there he is. I was looking at this one again.
Oh, you're still.
What are we doing?
We're just getting situated, Comey. We're going to call the consent calendar next.
Oh, okay. So you're not waiting for me. I hope you weren't.
Should we actually have him do his thing so we don't have to see through the vote? Isn't he making some announcements?
Tell us, yeah, ask him to tell what he's doing wrong.
Yeah. Well, since Comey is electronically challenged, we'll go ahead and do the consent calendar real quick.
Move to approve the consent calendar?
Second.
Second.
Yokoyama.
Have any public comments? Have any comments at all?
No public comments.
Roll call, please. Ooh.
Can I just confirm that the first was by Ali Saleh, seconded by Frank Yokoyama? Ashley Aiken? Ashley Aiken?
Yes, aye.
Thank you. Damien Alexander? Cindy Allen?
Aye.
Valerie Amezcua? Constantine Anthony? Catherine Barger? Elizabeth Becerra?
Aye.
Gary Boyer?
Yes.
Art Brown?
Aye.
Wendy Bucknam?
Yes.
Margaret Clark?
Yes.
Jenny Crosswhite?
Yes.
Rick Dennison?
Dennison, yes.
John Dimitru?
Yes.
Keith Ike? Margaret Finley?
Yes.
John Gabbard?
Yes.
James Gaisley?
Gaisley, aye.
Brian Goodell?
Aye.
Marshall Goodman? Kurt Hagman?
Hagman, aye.
Thank you. Jan Harnack?
Yes.
Laura Hernandez?
Yes.
Mike Judge. Joe Calmet,
Yes.
Trish Kelly,
Yes.
Kathleen Kelly,
Yes.
Tammy Kim,
Tammy Kim, yes.
Lauren Clayman,
Yes.
Linda Krupa,
Yes.
Patricia Lock Dawson,
Yes.
Vianney Lopez,
Yes.
Clint Lorimore,
Aye.
Ken Mann,
Yes.
Steve Manos, Ray Marquez,
Yes.
Andrew Maciel, Casey McKeon,
Yes.
Lauren Meister,
Yes.
Dennis Michael,
Yes.
Maricela Nava, Maria Nava Frolic,
Yes.
Frank Navarro, Oscar Ortiz,
Yes.
Luis Blancarte,
Yes.
Gil Rebollar,
Yes.
Rocky Rhodes,
Yes.
Deborah Robertson,
Yes.
Celeste Rodriguez,
Yes.
Ali Saleh,
Yes.
Tim Sandoval,
Yes.
Andrew Sorega, Suli Saro, Zach Schwank,
Yes.
Jose Luis Solache,
Yes.
Karen Spiegel,
Let me do this.
I'm abstaining from the minutes, number 5, but
No.
yes on the rest.
noted, thank you. Steve Ty,
Yes.
Donald Wagner,
Aye.
Alan Wapner,
Yes.
Frank Yokoyama.
Yes.
Mr. President, the motion for the consent calendar passes with 52 votes yes, 0 votes no, and 1 abstention on the minutes.
Thank you. Still waiting for Comey?
No, he's
No,
on.
he's on.
He's good.
He's on?
He's in Long Beach.
I'm here, Mr. President.
You may give your report, sir. And couldn't be in a better location right now.
Is this the executive director's report already?
Yes. Yes.
Can't talk.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. I'm delighted to be here at Long Beach today
Okay.
for
Those two.
You're okay, Comey.
Okay.
We've got you.
Okay. It's interesting to be on this side of things. It's good to be at Long Beach today. We had the privilege of joining in with Vice Mayor here, our second Vice President, on an event that was scheduled by the administration to announce $1.5 billion, a total of $1.5 billion in awards to the region from the state. That includes $1.2 billion for supply chain investments and some, I think another couple $100 million for South Coast Air District for clean air technology, clean technology, and just tremendous opportunity here. We also had the privilege of getting an announcement yesterday for those who may have not heard. Yesterday, the state formally announced the award of $246 million to the region for REAP 2. For many of us, we've been working around the issue of REAP 2 for the last year plus, and it would seem like it was a done deal, but it wasn't until this week that it was formally announced that we actually have the money. We had moved as an agency at risk to try and put our member agencies in the right footing to be able to deliver in the short time frame that was necessary to get the projects done. So we started early, and we did that at risk, but it was also predicated on the good work that we've done with our partners across the region, but also the good work led by our staff under the leadership of Sarah Jepson. So we had just back-to-back incredible announcements for resources coming to the region to invest in our economy, our infrastructure, and also on account of sustainability and equity. I have a couple of things to add in my executive director's report. With the REAP 2 award of 246 million is now at hand. We expect that some of that will go into the multiple calls for projects that we have put out that the regional council had approved. We now have those sub-allocations that have come through. The CTC partnership item you all approved earlier on is the first of these allocations. More are on the way. The call for applications is now open for 2 of the 3 funding areas in the REAP 2 program. One program is labeled PATH. It's the programs to accelerate transformative housing, PATH. The other is the housing infill on public and private lands pilot program, which focuses on developing affordable housing at scale and implementing corridor-wide and area-wide infill housing actions. That application, those projects are due July 10th. And last call for projects that we have is the one titled Notice of Funding Available for Lasting Affordability. This program, this NOFA program, supports innovative housing finance, trust funds, catalyst funds, and new permanent funding sources. And the applications for that program is due July 31st. And there's a third area under our PATH program that's focused on regional utility supporting housing. We expect to release that call for applications later this summer. And so I would hope that you all keep your eyes open for that, especially at member agencies that are interested in how we might be able to aggregate and optimize regional utilities to afford affordability in a housing program. So there's more information on all of these on the SCAG website. I also want to report on REAP 1, lest we forget the $47 million that we were allocated a couple of years ago under REAP 1. There are a lot of things going on that are worthy of note on the strength of the variety of projects that have come from various partners across the region. REAP 1 was specifically to allow us help our jurisdictions with increasing housing supply and accelerate production through planning in the region. More than 100 projects were funded under this program, focused on planning and helping jurisdictions meet the 6-cycle RENA goals. SCAG has completed several projects under REAP 1 since our last update to you in January 2023. Details are available in your agenda package on page 137 on the REAP 1 program. SCAG looks forward to the tools, programs, and best practices being produced under REAP 1. We've been very proud of these projects that have come out of the various innovations that each one of our jurisdictions, sub-regions and jurisdictions have been able to muster and share those, and they've been well received in Sacramento. We also, the Regional Council, I should say, adopted the Connect SoCal Amendment 3 and the 2023 Federal Transportation Improvement Program Consistency Amendment last month. That included an associated conformity analysis. Since your action last month, we have received an accelerated federal final approval of conformity determination. And this is a big deal because it allows for $26 billion worth of transportation projects that are included in this amendment to move forward. We were, if you recall, we talked about being under lockdown last month, and we were released from that lockdown as a result. And now with the conformity determination approval, projects can move forward. So I want to thank our friends at Caltrans, the Federal Highway Administration, and the Federal Transit Administration for the expedited review that they granted this conformity determination and the approval that came with it. One of the issues before you, I have a couple more things that we will be hearing about is RENA reform. It's been talked about. The Department of Housing and Community Development at the state level, HCD, is required by state law to submit a final RENA reform to the state legislature by December 31st, 2023. We're actively conducting outreach and collecting input from our various stakeholders across the region for our draft RENA reform recommendations that's consistent with the statewide effort in order to make sure the region's needs are part of the process with a collective voice. Staff will present draft recommendations at a special meeting of the CEHD committee on August 16th. And the committee will be asked to review and recommend this report to the regional council for your action in September before it's shared with HCD. And hopefully you would also have an opportunity to add your input and your direction to what we submit to HCD. That's before the deadline in December. I'm happy to report that the California Public Utilities Commission has approved $1 million to SCAG through the local agency technical assistance grant program. This approval came last week. This funding will enable SCAG to help advance broadband projects in underserved areas. We will be collaborating with our local jurisdictions that lack the resources to engage consultants on their own or be able to manage projects of this sort on their own. So that's what this grant is for. It's really to enable those of our members of our communities that can't do or can't go after these grants on their own. So we want to thank the CPUC for their continued investment in advancing broadband access in our region. And finally, the last thing I have to report on is the Regional Council had approved the RAMP, the Regional Advanced Mitigation Planning Policy Framework earlier this year. That framework directed us to convene a SoCal Green Print TAC, a Technical Advisory Committee, which will advise staff on the development of the Green Print tool to ensure that it's aligned with the policy that's in the framework that you all approved. The first meeting of that TAC is coming up on the 26th of July, and it will be open to the public. The TAC will present their recommendations at the end of their work to the EEC, the Energy and Environment Committee in October. And finally, that would come to the Regional Council in November. Mr. President, that's the end of my report. Be glad to answer any questions.
See, one member has his card up for a question.
I just wanted to see where we can see more details on the 1.2 billion that's going to be coming in for supply chain investments.
We can send a link out.
Yeah, we'll send the link out.
Okay. Any other questions? Yes.
It may be in the link, but I just wanted to ask because I also represent the city of Avalon around the 1 million to the broadband. Was there any budget allocated to the city of Avalon for that portion?
There are no specific cities outlined in the grant, if I recall. Sarah, do you want to take that on the latter grant?
Yes, good afternoon. We will go through a process of identifying the highest need locations first, and then we'll go through a process of selecting the local jurisdictions that we'll partner with for the implementation of the grant.
Wonderful, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions in the room or virtually? Nope. Okay, we'll go on with the president's report. I want to thank all of you who attended the Executive Administrative Committee retreat in that wonderful little city of Buena Park. During the two-day work planning session, we reflected on the past year and discussed strategic planning for the year ahead. We had a productive and engaging discussion on our priority areas for my work plan, which we presented to the Regional Council at a future meeting. LA had the regional connector opening. SCAG staff was present at the opening of LA's Metro's Regional Connector Project on June 16th. This important project creates 3 new subway stations in downtown LA, creating more transit access to major job centers, local businesses, and cultural destinations to support increased transit ridership in the region. SCAG was also represented at the National Association of Regional Councils this year. The annual conference took place in Detroit early last month with Regional Council Member Alan Wapner moderating a panel on street safety and SCAG's planning director Sarah Jepson speaking about equity and planning. This event is important for us because it allows for exchange of ideas and best practices with other metropolitan planning organizations across the nation. I attended the Buena Park Go Human demonstration showcasing pop-up parklet, bike lanes, artistic sidewalks, and curb extensions at the Buena Park Food Truck Festival. It was well attended, and the demonstration showed specific ways to improve bike and pedestrian safety, and it was a lot of fun. And Comey and I, neither one of us can run those little electric cars, the models. And please note, and be sure to note this, next month there'll be no regional council meeting. The next meeting will be Thursday, September 17th at 12 p.m. Do you have any questions? We will now have Lucy Dunn's business report.
Thank you, Mr. President. As
We
this
got
is,
this all screwed up today, don't
that's
we?
no, I'm just so grateful because it's the fastest regional council meeting in the history of the planet. So I'll take the next 2 hours to give
Okay,
you a business report.
they're yours.
Just kidding. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, on behalf of all of my colleagues from the GLUE Council, I really want to commend SCAG staff and all of you regional leaders for bringing back our fair share of funding from the feds and the state. That is astonishing amount of money today that we just heard about. And instead of all cheering, we sat there, I think, just kind of stunned by it. So thank you all very, very much on behalf of business, because investment in our region in infrastructure, transportation, and housing are really, really critically component to every one of those associations' internal goals from the business community. So thank you, thank you. My report is on page 197 at the very end of the agenda today. I'm not going to read the items in the report other than to highlight a new Southern California report co-authored by the Los Angeles Area Chamber of Commerce and Inland Empire Economic Center. 23 SoCal CEOs to assess California's competitiveness relative to other states. And again, no surprise to those who are paying attention in this room, of course, but the cost of doing business in California and the chronic lack of housing affordability continue to be the top issues for our competitiveness. Why this is important, I think, to SCAG as well is because of the development of an economic development strategy that we're doing here. And so there'll be a little deeper dive on this report presented by Maria Salinas from LA Chamber and Paul Granillo from the Inland Empire Economic Partnership at the next GLUE Council meeting on July 31st. At 10 a.m. Please feel free to join us. We welcome you. And for newbies, the GLUE Council is Global Land Use and Economics Council. It's the Business and Industry Advisory Board to your regional council. So some good information, hopefully a little deeper dive, and it might help populate some information as SCAG is developing its economic development strategies. The other thing is, again, the business community really rallied and all of its members in support of the governor's infrastructure plan. And so we're thrilled to see that moving forward. And I know that that will also help us here. Things not in my report. Randall Lewis, of course, of Lewis Homes, always gives me some great insights for all of you on housing. The market for new homes, of course, is quite strong now. There is very little supply on the resale side. So new home builders are selling well and eager to buy more land, but there are real restrictions on the amount of capital that lenders will make available for construction, especially for office, apartments, industrial, and retail. They're extremely cautious. All the economic indicators look like we're going into a bit of recession. The feds are promising to, again, likely look at increasing interest rates. and that will make financing that is available much more expensive. So it's a real hit on trying to increase supply. The big issue for our state is when you can't actually put the sticks in the ground. So we'll pay attention to that well. On top of that, again, there's no progress on the insurance issues in the state. As you recall, State Farm and farmers have basically said, we're not writing new policies. We may service existing policies, but that doesn't help with new home construction and trying to get insurance for new buyers to move in. The insurers are being extremely cautious, and those who will offer insurance will do so at much higher rates, especially as we enter into fire season. Business community is looking at this one a lot. This is kind of weird to say, but our insurance commissioner is running for another office. He doesn't want the political hits. Quietly trying to work with the insurance, because you have to raise rates. I mean, that's the bottom line. We've got to raise rates in the state, and he doesn't want to do it. And the insurers are basically going elsewhere. And so we've got to look at this in both a political as well as a business way to try and get solutions for housing as a top issue. Next one is connected. It's interesting. Everybody's doing their surveys and their polls. Tracy Hernandez, the CEO of BizFed, who also serves on our GLUE Council, just reported the results of her 2023 BizFed Pulse poll of more than 200 nonprofit business associations. Nearly 650 business leaders responded. It's in its 15th year of data gathering, and what they not only just reported on the things that aren't working, they actually looked at what was working in the state that helped businesses succeed. And of course, no surprise, weather and family ties are the top reasons employers in Los Angeles County choose to stay in California. And of course, the poll found that our region's consumer base is a top reason to stay and compete. You can't ignore a gigantic market. And so people are staying in the Los Angeles region. But the uncertainty and the pessimism comes from key findings. Fees and taxes are number one as their most critical concern. And although homelessness ranked first in 2022, it actually fell to fourth place in 2023 from business leaders, perhaps reflecting the community's view that efforts are trying to progress on addressing homelessness. Crime climbed to number one. So, taxes and fees are number one. Crime climbed to second place, higher on the concern scale than we've seen in 15 years, followed by inflation, homelessness, energy costs, government regulations, interest rates, energy reliability, et cetera. So insights gleaned from that poll also revealed some red alert shifts in post-pandemic transportation, recreation, and workplace needs. Hopefully we'll get to that, talk a little bit about that in our next GLUE Council meeting as well, because it aligns well with the Southern California report from both the Chamber, LA Chamber, and Inland Empire Economic Partnership. So those are a couple of quick hits in an oral part, in addition to what I've put in my written report, and I'm happy to answer any questions. We're here to support you.
Thank you, Lucy. Okay, do we have anybody wishing to have future agenda items? Anybody virtually?
No raised hands.
Any announcements? Yes.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to take the opportunity to introduce two of my environmental interns that are here with me today. I previously invited or introduced one before, but I wanted to introduce them. One is from Rialto Unified School District, and the other one's from Fontana Unified School District. They are both just completed their first year of college, and I'd ask if one for Rialto Unified could stand up. His name is Owen Napper. Owen Napper just completed his first year at UC Berkeley. And he is, I think, on the path to wanting to become an attorney. I haven't figured out what yet. And then the other one I'd like to introduce from Fontana Unified School District is Genesis Bolagun. And Genesis just completed her first year at North Carolina A&T, where she's majoring in environmental studies with an emphasis in environmental justice. I don't know if you guys are aware, you probably are, that EPA just put out finally the request for their first ever youth advisory council. There'll be 16 young folks selected to advise, and both of them are planning on submitting their application. So we will be dark. They will return to school at the end of July. So I just wanted to introduce, and they are environmentally paid interns in the city of Rialto. So thank you.
Thank you, Jan Harnick.
Thank you so much. I was so stunned by that list that you gave us, Lucy, where things have kind of gone, homelessness was one, and now it's 4. Can you provide something that gives us the backup of what the comments were? And I found that really, really stunning.
I'll get you all the links that you need. Yeah.
Great, thank you. And I see another.
Supervisor Spiegel.
Yeah, and I just wonder, if I may be so bold, if Ruben Duran also has some people maybe worth mentioning that are here today.
Oh.
Thank you, Councilmember Harnick. It's not common for me to speak in a non-legal capacity, but I'm very pleased to also have some young people here who are observing the Regional Council in action today. Best and Krieger hires summer associates every year. We have 4 of a wonderful class of 5 summers in the back of the room with us. I'm going to introduce them and try to remember which law schools they go to. So we've got Sam Johnson. Sam is second year at Southwestern Law School here in downtown Los Angeles. Marisa Galvez is a second year at USC Gould School of Law. Kara Vincent Williams is a second year at, hold on a minute, Chapman University Law School. And Kate Peters is a second year law student at UC Irvine Law School. Thank you, Madam Immediate Past President.
Supervisor Spiegel.
Yes, first, thank you, Jan, for pointing out. That's what I was going to ask Lucy. Thank you for this in writing. I'm the one bugging you all this time. I try and take all the notes. It's so easy, except for you got to all those top listed for the businesses. And that's really very telltale, is that when homelessness dropped below taxes and crime, it was very insightful. So those links would be very helpful to explain that. And it's September 7th. I want to reconfirm is our next meeting, correct?
Yes.
We're all trying to figure it out down here. My last thing is more of just for future and planning. Your retreat that you had was on the same night as the Western Riverside Council Government, WRCOG, and it just doesn't show camaraderie or some type of wholesome that we should be having and not stepping on each other. So if we could do a better job at making sure we clear representatives from this board, not to be having to be pulled. I just think for future.
We tried not to, but it just didn't work. I'm sorry.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Try harder.
Maybe they could. Maybe they could. Maybe they might change their day. Just a thought.
Yeah.
Wait, just Jan, you are one of they.
Not WRCOG.
Oh.
No.
Oh, that's right. You are. Oh, never mind. You're the desert. You're CVAG. Sorry.
Do we have any other announcements before I make mine?
Mr. President?
Well, I
Yes.
would just comment to say that Karen, it was noted, I did bring it up, that there was a conflict, but both of them was already locked in, committed. So it was duly noted.
Please not the 4th Thursday in June next year.
Okay, let's quit thanking each other for that. I want to announce that Buena Park approved a development of 1,300 units. It's a mix of townhomes and Apartment houses, we had a 2-hour public hearing, which about 2/3 of the people were against it that live in the residential area south, but the council did vote 5-0 to approve the housing, which we desperately need against our 8,000th arena numbers require. Do we have anybody else wish to speak in person or, yes, Mr. Salachi?
Mr. President, just in the spirit of meetings, I was just wondering, and I don't need an answer today per se, but just wondering if there's a thought in the future to move to go dark in July and then have our meeting in August, just opposite, just because I know that 4th of July gets in the middle of all the craziness. Just again, a question, and I don't know, there's been I've missed a conversation in the past of why we go dark in August versus July. Just food for thought. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah, happy to give a little background. Traditionally, a lot of councils do go dark in August, so we're trying to match up with those schedules. Additionally, from a staff perspective, it's usually the month before the meeting that we get a little bit of downtime to take off and spend with families. So if the dark month is July, that turns into June, and obviously it's still very active. So having the dark month in August allows us a little more flexibility in July.
Yeah.
But that's just the history. But I think next year, July 4th might be the first Thursday. So we're certainly going to need to talk about how you wish to schedule that moving forward. So
again, just a thought. I'm not advocating either way. Just was
Yeah, my
Thank you.
city's dark in August.
Mine's in July.
Could I suggest,
Thank you, Mr. President.
Yes,
I was just going to say, could suggest maybe we take another survey because we were in August and we moved ours to July, recognizing school starts early.
we'll look into it.
Thank you.
Chair, can I
Anybody
move
else
to
have
adjourn,
any-
can I move to adjourn the meeting?
Yes.
Cut our losses.
Yeah. Anybody else have anything before I